So in this tutorial, we want to look at solving quadratic equations that involve algebraic fractions. In 1a, we have to solve this equation, and as you can see, we have algebraic fractions in the equation. And what we do is we look at the LCD, the least common denominator. And it's always going to be the product of the denominators. So basically our LCD here will be x times x plus 1. Now we multiply each of the terms in the equation by this LCD. So we have 5 over x. We're going to multiply it by the LCD. Then we have negative 8 over x plus 1. And we multiply it by the LCD. Then also very important, on the right hand side of the equation we have 1. So we multiply the 1 also by the LCD. Now we can see some of the factors will cancel. So x will cancel here, x plus 1 will cancel here, and we can simplify what we are left with. So 5 times x plus 1 is 5x plus 5. Then we have a negative. Then 8 times x is 8x. On the right hand side, we can multiply out the brackets. 1 times x is x. And when we multiply x into the brackets, we get x squared. X times x is x squared. Plus x times 1 is x. We can add like terms. So on the left hand side here we have 5, and 5x minus 8x is negative 3x. We want to bring all our terms to one side, but we want to keep the x squared positive. So we're going to flip the equation. The 5 and the negative 3x we're going to bring to the side of the x squared plus x. So when we take negative 3x across, it becomes positive 3x. And when we take the 5 across, it becomes negative 5. And this equals 0. Now we can add like terms. So x plus 3x is 4x. And we end up with a quadratic equation, or a trinomial. It's not specified how we should solve it, so we can use either the quadratic formula or we can use factorization. Let's use factorization. So we have x times x will give us x squared, and 5 times 1 will give us 5. Our middle term must be positive 4x. So we need a plus here with a 5 and a minus with a 1. Let's check. X times x will give us x squared. Positive 5 times negative 1 will give us negative 5. Then we have positive 5x minus 1x will give us positive 4x. So we can solve this equation using the zero product rule. So x plus 5 is 0, or x minus 1 is 0. And now we can solve for x. Then in B, we have to solve this equation. And once again, we have algebraic fractions in the equation. So the first step will be to find the LCD, so the least common denominator. And it's always going to be the product of our denominators. So it's going to be x plus 1 times x plus 9. Now we multiply each of the terms in the equation by the LCD. And important, we must also multiply the right-hand side by the LCD. So let's see what we'll get. So 1 times the LCD. I'm going to write it here. We can simplify. So x plus 1 here will cancel with this x plus 1. X plus 9 will cancel with this x plus 9. Let's see what we have left. So we have 1 times x plus 9, which is just x plus 9, minus 9 times x plus 1. Then on the right-hand side, we multiply out the brackets. So we'll have x times x is x squared. X times 9 is 9x. 1 times x is x. And 1 times 9 is 9. We can simplify. We can multiply the negative 9 into the brackets here. On the right-hand side, we can add like terms. 9x plus x is 10x. We have more terms that we can add on the left-hand side. So x minus 9x is negative 8x. And in positive 9 minus 9 is 0. So the 9s will cancel here. We want to bring all our terms to one side, but we want to keep the x squared positive. So we're going to flip the equation. And we're going to bring the negative 8x across. And it will become positive 8x. We can add like terms. 10x plus 8x is 18x. And then we have plus 9 equals 0. Now, this equation doesn't factorize. So we're going to use the quadratic formula. Now, we're first going to write down the values of a, b, and c. So a is the x squared coefficient, which is 1. B is the x coefficient, which is 18. And c is the constant, which is 9. We can plug these into the quadratic equation. X equals negative b, so negative 18, plus minus the square root of b squared, minus 4 times a times c. And this is all over 2a. Now we can work out what's under the square root using a calculator. And it comes to 288. We can write down our two answers. X is negative 18 plus the square root of 288, all divided by 2. Or x equals negative 18 minus the square root of 288, all divided by 2. We use a calculator to find these values. So negative 18 plus the square root of 288, all divided by 2. And it comes to negative 0.515. To 3 significant figures. Then we also have negative 18 minus the square root of 288, all divided by 2. And it comes to negative 17.485. Of course, we need to write it to 3 significant figures. So this should be negative 17.5. Let's look at C. We find the LCD. So in this case, the LCD will be x minus 3 times 2x plus 3. We multiply all the terms in the equation by the LCD. And important to remember to also multiply the right-hand side by the LCD. So 1 times the LCD, I'm going to write it here. X minus 3 cancels with this x minus 3. 2x plus 3 cancels with this 2x plus 3. In the first term, we're going to be left with 1 times 2x plus 3, which is just 2x plus 3. Then a plus. Then in a second term, we're left with 4 into x minus 3. On the right-hand side, 1 times these brackets will give the brackets. So we can multiply out the brackets. X times 2x is 2x squared. X times 3 is 3x. Negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x. And negative 3 times positive 3 is negative 9. We can simplify. We can multiply the 4 into the brackets here. We can add like terms on the right-hand side. So 3x minus 6x is negative 3x. We want to bring all our terms to the one side, but we have like terms that we can add on the left-hand side. So 2x plus 4x is 6x, and 3 minus 12 is negative 9. We want to keep the term in x squared positive, so we're going to flip the equation. And we're going to bring the terms on the left-hand side to the right-hand side. So 6x across will give us negative 6x, and negative 9 across will give us positive 9. Then we can add more like terms. Negative 3x minus 6x is negative 9x. And of course the 9's will cancel. Negative 9 plus 9 is 0. We need to solve this, and we're going to do it by factorization, taking out a common factor. The common factor here is x. So x into 2x squared is 2x times, and x into 9x is 9. Now we can use the zero product rule. So x equals 0, or 2x minus 9 equals 0. And solving for x here in the second equation, 2x will equal 9. And in dividing both sides of the equation by 2, we get x equals 4.50. So our two answers then will be x is 0 or x is 4.50. In part A of question 2, we have to show that this equation that has algebraic fractions in it can be simplified to this quadratic equation. So we start by writing down the LCD. And remember that the LCD will always be the product of the denominators. So the LCD in this case is going to be 2 times x plus 4. Now we multiply each term in this equation by the LCD. So the first term multiplied by the LCD, then the second term also multiplied by the LCD, and then we also multiply the right-hand side here by the LCD. So 1 times the LCD will give us the LCD. Now we can simplify. X plus 4 will cancel here, 2 will cancel here. And what we are left with of the first term will be 7 times 2, which is 14. And then from the second term, we have 2x minus 3 multiplied by x plus 4. On the right-hand side here, we can multiply the 2 into the brackets. So 2 times x will give us 2x, and 2 times 4 is 8. We can multiply out these brackets. So 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 4 is 8x. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. We first add like terms on the left-hand side. So 8x minus 3x is 5x. And we also have 14 minus 12, which is 2. We can bring all our terms to the left-hand side. So 5x minus 2x is 3x. And 2 minus 8 will give us negative 6. So now we have answered the first part of the question. So we've shown that this equation can be simplified to this quadratic equation. Let's now look at part B of this question. It says solve this equation, show all your working, and give your answers correct to 2 decimal places. Now, whenever it says give your answer correct to 2 decimal places, we must use the quadratic formula. So we're going to start by comparing the equation to the standard quadratic form. In other words, to ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And we're going to compare this equation to the standard equation in order to find the values of a, b, and c. So a is the x squared coefficient, and that's going to be 2. B is the x coefficient, which is equal to 3. And c is the constant, so c is equal to negative 6. Now we can write down the quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And we can plug in our values of a, b, and c. So b is 3, and here we have negative b, so it's negative 3 plus minus b squared, so 3 squared, minus 4 times a times c. This is all over 2a, so 2 times 2. We can first work out what's under the square root, and we can use a calculator for that. So we have 3 squared, which is 9, minus 4 times 2 times negative 6. And that's 57. This is all over 4. So we know that x is going to be negative 3 plus the square root of 57 all over 4, or x is going to be negative 3 minus the square root of 57 all over 4. And we can do this on a calculator. So it's negative 3 plus square root 57 divided by 4. And we have to give our answer correct to 2 decimal places. So it's 1.14. Then we can work out the second value of x. So negative 3 minus square root 57 divided by 4. So corrected 2 decimal places, it's negative 2.64. Then in question 3a, we need to show that this equation that has an algebraic fraction in it simplifies to this quadratic equation. We can start by finding the LCD in this equation. And in this case, we only have one fraction, 7 over x minus 2. The denominator here is x minus 2. So the LCD will just be x minus 2. Now we multiply each of these terms in this equation by the LCD. So the first term multiplied by the LCD, then the second term multiplied by the LCD, and we also multiply the right-hand side here, in other words the x here, by the LCD. So we can multiply out these brackets. 3x times x is 3x squared, 3x times negative 2 is negative 6x, 5 times x is 5x, and 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Then in the second term, the x minus 2 here will cancel, and we're left only with 7. So plus 7. We can multiply out the right-hand side, so the x into the brackets. Now we simplify the left-hand side by adding like terms. So negative 6x plus 5x is negative 1x, and negative 10 plus 7 is negative 3. Now we can bring all our terms to the left-hand side. So 3x squared minus x squared will give me 2x squared. Then negative x plus 2x will give me positive x. And we also have the negative 3. So we have answered part A of this question. Then in part B, we have to solve this quadratic equation by factorization. So 2x squared plus x minus 3 equals 0. Now, in this case, we don't have a 1 as the x squared coefficient. So we can use the following method. We can start by multiplying the constant here, negative 3, by the x squared coefficient. So 2 times negative 3 will give us negative 6. Now we look for the factors of 6. It will be 1 and 6, and 2 and 3. Now our middle term here must be positive 1x. 1 and 6 can never give us positive 1, so this won't work. 2 and 3 can give us positive 1 if the 2 is negative and the 3 positive. Now what we do is we divide each of these two numbers by the x squared coefficient. So negative 2 divided by 2, and we can simplify this to negative 1 over 1. Then positive 3 divided by 2. So we won't be able to simplify this any further. Now we can open our brackets. Now, if you look at negative 1 over 1, we know we're going to get a negative 1 here. And the denominator here, this 1 here, we're going to multiply by x. So 1 times x is x. Then the second number here is positive 3 over 2. So we know we're going to get a plus 3 here. And in the denominator here of 2, we're going to multiply by x. So 2x. We can check that this is correct. X times 2x is 2x squared. Minus 1 times 3 is negative 3. Then we have negative 2x plus 3x, which will give us positive 1x. Now we solve this equation by using the zero product rule. So x minus 2 times 2x plus 3 is 0, means that x minus 1 is 0, or 2x plus 3 is equal to 0. And we can solve for x here. X will equal 1. And here we can solve for x by taking the positive 3 to the right-hand side. And then dividing the 2 into the right-hand side.